Hello everybody. Today, my first time trying this, I'm gonna be showing you oh my gosh, a Godot tutorial, and I'm gonna be showing you how to make a top-down multiplayer game. Just a little simple setup, since I know when I was trying to make switching from another game, I had a lot of trouble with the input. So that's mainly what this is gonna focus on, splitting up the input, but I will show you also how to just set up the scene and stuff if you're just beginning. So let's start off by making our GDC node, and so that's where we're gonna start. And I'm gonna add a plane, which I'm a little new to Godot too, so sorry if I'm a little slow on these. Uh, Mesh, I believe. Yes. Let's see, mesh. And alright, so we're gonna make a mesh instance. And this is gonna be our floor. So mesh instance, we're gonna come over here, select new plane mesh. See how we have another floor right here. Only thing is we still don't have any collisions, so we're gonna is it here? Here we go. Yes. Create I'm just gonna put create tri-mesh static body. I think there's a better way to do that. But there we go. We have our plane and we can collide with it. So I'm gonna actually no, that's fine. I was gonna scale it up, but I think that's all right. And then I'm gonna add a rigid body here. You see, we don't have a mesh. That's what it's. I'm pretty sure that's what it's warning us about. Has no shape. It can't collide. Okay. Yeah. So it needs a collision shape. So let me add a collision shape 3D. What is this? I don't know. I haven't used it. I'm not gonna mess with it. Not yet, at least. Shape. I'm just gonna give it a regular box. Oh, that's a big cube. I will scale this one up then. After all, transform. Now, usually you'd scale the other ones, but since I'm doing this quickly, I'll scale this up from the parent. And then we come over here, get our box. Why is it still huge? Oh, because it's a child of that one. Sorry. There you go, collision shape, we have a box, and then we also need our mesh. So add child node, mesh, instance 3D, box mesh. If I'm not mistaken, can use this mesh here. There we go. So now we have our mesh. Wait, what is this? I didn't change anything on the scale, did I? Transform. Oh, okay, that's weird. Oh, because I think I scaled it when I had it as a child of this. Alright, well, I'm fixing that right now. So, in case you're wondering, the box is just so, I like to put boxes just to test the physics sometimes. It's easier to see when you're like controlling or whatever. Alright, so that's gonna be our little scene setup. And now let's start on the player controller. And I'm gonna save this scene, testing scene. There we go. And we're gonna have another one, another 3D scene. And this one's gonna be for our player. So, um, let's rename the node to player. And right off the bat, for our player, we are gonna need a, let me see, we are gonna need a mesh to show where our player is. So, there we go. were the capsules? In case you're ever wondering why everyone uses beans in the games, that's why. There's our bean. So that's our mesh. And actually, I'm gonna group these together into a different node called the model. Oh, sorry. Uh, I just need a regular node. There you go. SMB, rename that. Model. Mesh is gonna go in there. And then I'm doing that because I'm gonna also add another mesh in here so that way we can tell which way our player is facing. And this one's gonna be, let me rename these. Bean box. Okay. Oh, I forgot. Box does not have a mesh. That confused me for a little bit. And the box is just to see where our player's looking. I can put them here, here, and I'll probably adjust this afterwards because I know they don't always stay like this. Um, Unlink those. Thank you. Or can I change that here? Can I edit? Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna do it here instead then. Size. Perfect. There, now our beans have like a little visor or something. Anyway, that's our model. Um, I'm gonna be using physics to control this one, so we are gonna need a rigid body in here. So let me add that to a rigid body 3D. Oh, I messed this up. This one is supposed to be the rigid body. Okay, let me. Is there any way I can change that? Maybe there is, but I don't really know how to do that. So I'm gonna start over. Um, Rigid body 3D. Yeah, I'm gonna start over with this so that way I can fix that. I have copy these. Oh, thank you, Godot. Okay, that was that's a little bit of a bump. Anyway, fix that. I'm gonna delete this one then. Don't save. All right, here we are. And we need our collision shape. I'm gonna leave that under the model also. Um, maybe I would say maybe change that because the this model might have more shapes in it that you don't want colliding, but it's just for the, like a little prototype, so it's fine. No, what? If I put this as a child, does it automatically detect it? Why is this? Okay. Yeah, I'm still figuring some of this stuff out. If you couldn't tell. Alright, so we're gonna set our collision shape there. Did I not just? I guess not. I I'm gonna set a new capsule collision shape. They're the same size. That is not ideal though. You do want one of these models to, you know, be part of the collision. I'm just having trouble with this right now, so that's gonna be our workaround. And let me see. No, I think that's it. Anyway, so then let's then save this player and drag him into our scene. Yeah, doesn't really look that happy. He's stuck in the floor. That's better. Anyway, And one more thing, we are gonna need a camera. And since I said this was top down for this tutorial, I am just gonna add a camera on the top, kind of at a bird's eye view. If you want to add more camera controls, that's up to your project. I'm keeping this simple because I wanted to focus more on the input, although I am setting up a lot of other stuff, but I will add timestamps so you can change what you want to. I mean, you can navigate through the video. So if you don't want to watch all this setup because you already know what to do, you know, navigate to the part where you need. But I just want to add this, that way no one's confused, and when I do start talking about the input, we're on the same page. Alright, here we go. So, run. Yes, we're gonna have this one as our main scene. And that's weird. Why is the camera not rendering anything? Are there no lights? Huh. What? That's really weird. Let's pick it up higher. Maybe you'll see it. Oh, it's just really dark. Okay. Let me see if I can add. Where's no light. Yeah, there we go. Add a light, cause it's pretty dark in here. Anyway, that's better. There we go. Now you can see the player. Can't move him or anything because there's no script. There's not even a script attached to it, but we can at least see our scene. We can see our player scene, and we have those two cubes that I put just to play around with. Okay, save that. Now we're gonna go to our player and start adding our player script. We're gonna start off by making our movement. So actually, even before I go to the script, I'm gonna attach it first. Just name it player. That'd be simple, and we're gonna use that name later. Anyway, so we have our player. Yes, yes I do. Oh man, I forgot to put it in C sharp. My bad. Let me fix that. What? Let me. No. How do I remove the script? Oh, there you go. Detach script. Delete that. Where is C sharp? Okay, yes. This tutorials are being C sharp. Alright, nice. Come back to that. Let's go to our input map and figure out the controls we want for our player. So I'm gonna say, um, just right off the bat, we need move forward. So let's do move forward, add move backwards. Actually, I didn't put forward, so let's keep it move backward, move left, add, and move right. There we go. Now, once we accept the code, we'll have these four simple directions to move in. I'm gonna add so we can turn the player. But for now, this is it. So let's add some yeah, action events. So we have our keys bound to these. So our move forward, I'm gonna start off with a keyboard. Right after, I'll add the gamepad ones once you set up the player script. Anyway, that's forward, backward would be S, left would be A, and right would be D. Perfect. Okay, so we have our action set up. Then let's go to the player script, if I can find it. And let's start setting some stuff up in here. So right off the bat, we're gonna need some remember, so I'm gonna say export, export. And why is this thing? Oh, I think I need to build it real quick. Let me do that. And it's there we go. Let me save this. Build. The autocomplete's not working. Export. Anyway, so then we're gonna have a private int, or no, sorry, float. Actually, I think Godot uses double. I'll double check that when I get there, but private float, move speed, set to equals 0.02 for now. And yeah, that's all we need for now. So then let's then go and get our controls. So we're gonna have a input. Man, where's the autocomplete when I need it? Let me make sure it's set up real quick. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got it working. All I had to do was just restart it. So anyway, let's do this. What are we doing? Actually, I'm gonna make two vectors. No, one vector. What? Yes, one vector. Private vector 2, and this is gonna be our movement input. Anyway, and then we're gonna be input. I would say I think there's probably better ways to do this. I think I even did it in a better way when I originally um, made the script for another project. But this is what I'm gonna put right now. Movement input equals new vector 2, and then we are going to have um, our x and our y. We can do that, right? Let's see overload. Okay, yes, we can do that. So then from here, our x is going to be input dot get axis, and this first one is going to be our move left. I think we can change this afterwards. I'm not 100% sure whether the first one's move left or not, and our move right. We'll change that afterwards. So that's going to be moving for left and right. X on the x-axis. Yes, x-axis would be left and right movement. So it should be set up correctly. And the next one's going to be input dot get axis, and this one's going to be move move forward, and we're also going to check for move backward. Now, let me explain this part a little bit, just in case I went a little too fast. Oh, these aren't named right. Let me fix those first. So what this is going to do is going to output, not output. We made a vector 2, which is going to store two float values for us, and we have our x and our y values. So when we create this vector 2 here, the x value is going to be from the input.getAxis, and what this does is it basically says this is the negative action, this is the positive action, and then it puts those onto like a line from each other, an axis, creates an axis between them. And same thing for this one. So our left and right's gonna be on the x component of the vector, and this one's gonna be on the y component of the vector. And if you actually read the little thing that pops up here, it does tell you what this is equivalent to. There you go. It's shorthand for, just getting the difference between the positive and negative action. So that's what we're gonna do. So we have our movement input, that's where we want to go, and so I'm gonna go to our public. I'll handle the mouse input once I get the movement. Override void, and we're gonna put the movement into the physics process. That way, the physics are handled in the physics and not in the frames, because they're not always synced up, or at least at the same uh, speed. So we don't want to be applying forces outside of the physics process. So what we're going to do, apply central force. And what's that central force going to be? The move input. Oh, see? And now we have a problem, because this is a vector 2, and what we need is a vector 3. So I'm going to, can we add these? Okay, we can get the components. I'm just going to get the components. So I'm going to say vector 3 dot 0 0. And this is basically a vector 3 with zeros to x, y, and z components. And the reason I'm doing this is so you can add to it instead of having the constructor for a new vector 3. Anyway, and then we're going to put plus vector. Let me see if I can add the movement input. I don't think I can. Yeah, no, you can't add vector 3 to vector 2. Let me just fix this then. Vector. Well then, I'll just, in that case I will just make a new one. New new vector 3, and then we're going to have our movement input dot x and our movement input dot y and 0, since we aren't going to be jumping, at least yet. So it's supposed to be capitalized? Yes. There we go. So we have our movement script. With more additions to this probably won't be here. This new vector 3, you probably want to add on to it. You add a jump, this is going to change. But for now, it's just for the tutorial. That way we have something to base the input mapping on. So let's go and test it. So let's go into our testing scene, and we should be able to move our character around. Let's see. Yes, we can, but there is a problem. He's rolling over. And then now I can't do anything because I think there's too much friction. But that is something I forgot to do under the player. What was that? I didn't mean to do that. Player, we're gonna go into, where is it? Activation, lock rotation. There we go. Lock the player's rotation. Save that. And when we come back, they should be able to stand up. Okay. Now they're not moving. I think our move speed was a little too slow. Where's the player? Oh, I forgot to rename it to player. Is it gonna change over here? No, it's not. It's still just that. Ah, whatever. Okay. So let's come over here. It should have updated that. Yes, it did. What was I checking? The move speed. Yes. Our move speed probably needs to be higher. I'm gonna change to 0.2. And our player is not moving. Interesting. I'm still thinking it's that, but maybe it's not. We'll find out. Am I going crazy? Did it slightly move? Let's see. Just try a crazy number. Okay, yeah. I think now is when I stop and say it's not working. Um, I know why. It's because I forgot to add the move speed. This is just, here. This should be times move speed. And I messed this up, honestly, because the whole point of using the vectors is that you have them together, and I did not do that. So, I mean, I guess I could have made this a vector 3 and blah blah. Anyway, but for now, let's just do that. And let me fix the move speed back to a reasonable amount. Like, I'm gonna add it to 20 since what we had was not working. Alright, let's try this one more time. Where is it? I think I minimized it. Oh, there we go. Our player is now moving. Whoa, did it get stuck on the visor? I don't think so, because it shouldn't have a collider there, but that would be pretty cool. Whoa. Okay, yeah, our y-axis is controlling the, like elevation instead of the visual y-axis, so let's adjust that. But anyway, we got the player to move. That's what was important, the most important part of this. So I'm gonna move this part from the y component of this to the z component and change this to 0. There we go. Alright, let's try this again. Player should move in a way that we expect now. There we go. Perfect. I press W, he goes up. I press S, comes back. D is to the right, A is left. Awesome. That's exactly what we wanted. I'm going to add the mouse input, and I'm not gonna make it point to anything. I'm just gonna make it so that it like turns around. Anyway, so actually, I'm not gonna add the mouse input. Now that I think about it, that's not really important to this tutorial. Anyway, let's moving on. Let's start splitting up the input since this is, after all, a tutorial on multiplayer. Let's get the multiplayer in here. And the way I'm going to show you is a way to scale it up. Since if you watch a lot of tutorials or you look online, most, if not all, actually, I'm not going to say all because I have seen that aren't. Most of them are going to tell you, okay, so you're going to have 4 players, so let's add move forward for player 1, add that one, and then move forward for player 2, add that one. And, well, personally, I didn't really like that. That's really annoying. Every time you add a new action, you're going to have to, you know, do it 4 times, and then that's not fun. That's not cool. I didn't like that one. So, I decided to create my own one, and I kind of had the idea for myself, but I did get some help from a plugin that I will link in the description. Which, if you want to use the plugin, I would also say that's a lot easier to get started because you don't have to worry about making it yourself. But I think it's good to know what your own code is doing if you want to add that yourself. So that's what this is for. Anyway, Let's start it then. So what's really gonna happen is we're gonna make a new node. Why can't I click this? Oh, I forgot. It's where is it? Godot being annoying. Okay, so we're going to go um Add a new node. Yes, I kind of blanked out there for a second. Node, node. I don't know if it needs to be 3D, but and then we're gonna have this as our. Oh, okay. I was just trying to rename it. Input manager, input manager, and then we are going to have a child of this one called, and it's going to be. This will be our player. Air. My goodness. Player manager. And I will explain these as I add the scripts on them. But the main point of this is our player manager will manage adding and subtracting players, um, detecting when they join, stuff like that. And the input manager is going to handle the input map for each player. So that's going to handle making sure each player has their inputs um, proper and also giving that information back to the player manager so when it creates a player it can then use that for the player. So um, I'm going to start off first thing. I'm going to have our players join at runtime by pressing a button. So I'm going to create a new action for that. It's going to be called start, and I want it to be enter on the keyboard. Oh my goodness. Enter. There we go. Enter. And start on the controller. So let's say start. There we go. So you press that button, the game's gonna put you in. That's as simple as it is. And let's then go into our code. So I'm gonna create a script here. Name it input manager. I don't think. Ah man, don't like it when Godot does that. There we go. All right, got it. I need to close this. Um, let's add a script to this. Name it input manager. I don't think that's a singleton already. Guess I'll find out. Ah, that doesn't look like it. Anyway, and then here we're gonna have our player manager. And first thing I'm gonna do, player manager, we are going to get a player. So um, private packed scene player scene, and just right off the bat, let's add that in. So in our player manager, oh, I need to build. I was like, what? Um, we're going to have this here, our player scene, where we can drag in our player that we just made to spawn in when we have the game started, or when we want it to start. No, that's the script, not the. Where's the scene? Here it is. There's the scene. There we go. So now when we tell the game to start, we have the resource already to instantiate the player. So let's do that. Um, I'm not gonna put anything in the ready or process just yet. We need to do these first. So then let's have our add player function. What am I doing? Private void add player. Anyway, so then I guess right off the bat we're gonna instantiate. Actually, let me make it a node 3D so we can access it. Wrong. Not a node 3D, a player, because we're going to need to access player specific functions. So, a player, that's going to be our P. I'm just going to call it P because I already took player for the name of the thing. But anyway, it's going to equal our instantiate. How do I instantiate? What? Alright, give me a second. I'll be right back while I figure this out. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, sorry for those little cuts. I might be doing that since, like I said, I'm not like me pre-experience with Godot, so I might have to reference back to the other code, but I will get to this. That instantiate, what is this? But what is the type for? I'm just gonna use the regular instantiate. There you go. And we're gonna cast this to a player once it's instantiated, so we can access its stuff. So on our add player, we're gonna instantiate the player, and it's that simple. So on the ready, I'm just gonna add player, and we're gonna add more to this because this this still isn't multiplayer. This still doesn't really have to do splitting up inputs or anything. This is just setting up our functions for now. So you're gonna add child p, and then we're gonna set p position, then equal vector 3 dot 0 plus vector 3 dot up times 8. So let me explain this a little bit more. So we're gonna add the player. This is gonna instantiate them into the world, and it's gonna be as a like the player class type. So we're able to set the control and whatever, which we will add in a little bit. And then we're gonna add as a child of this. This is just for the hierarchy. It's easier to see sometimes. And then the position, we're gonna set them a little bit into the air. That way they fall on top of the grid and aren't stuck under the grid. And on the ready, we're just gonna add the player. So let's then see. Let's make sure this works. So we're gonna go. We now can delete our player from the. Yes, delete. So we can now delete our player from the scene, and it should be automatically created by the player manager, and it should show up in the player manager. Okay, good. Our player is created. I can't move though. Oh, okay. I know now. The speed. Remember the speed is really low. Yes. See now it's 0.02. We need it at 20, but that's fine. I can just change that in the player. Let's change. No, no local. Okay, let's stop testing. I'm not gonna test it again with the speed, but that works. So I'm just gonna put it at 20. What? There we go. And now it should be fine. So then let's get back to the code. Um, we have our add player, and we need to be able to tell it when we're gonna add the player. So and that was gonna be on our start. So let's go into here, unhandled public void. I'm gonna put that in the unhandled input, and you'll see why. Public void unhandled. Where's the unhandled input? If you can't tell, I'm like seriously relying on the autocomplete right now. Give me a second. Okay, I got it. There's code. Public override void. What? Void. What? That's weird. Anyway, let's just go with unhandled input. Thanks, autocomplete. What is this? Okay, there we go. So then we're going to have our if, and this is just going to be um, setting it up. So we're going to take our add player out of here and only add the player when we press start. So then we're going to have here our add player. What am I doing? If input, and I'm doing some weird stuff right now. If event is input action. Is action? Never mind. Never mind. Came back. Sorry, I'm really fumbling this right now. I found it. It's add event that is action. Oh, is action pressed? We don't want it happening crazy. And start. So if we get the action start, we're going to then add player. And this is going to add some more because we're going to collect some data, and that's why having unhandled input so we can get the device that it came from and whether it's a Joy controller or a keyboard. But for now, just so we can start setting stuff up. There we go. And let's run it. I'm going to press enter and we spawn in. And it works. Okay, good. That's how it's supposed to work. So then let's get into the meaty part of this. This is just setting this up, and we're gonna come and fix it later. But right now, we're gonna need to get serious. So, right off the bat, I'm gonna make a new class. So this is gonna be a public class controls. And I don't think that's also taken, so I'm just gonna use that. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna be basically what is our what controls we're using for the player. So this is going to be passed to the player. This class is going to be passed to the player, and it's going to contain information like the device, whether it's a mouse and keyboard or a joypad. But for now, I'm going to keep it simple. It's just going to be negative numbers will be a keypad. But yeah, so let's start with that. Private int device. And I'm actually gonna make a unique. No, I'm not. No, we don't need that. This is already gonna be unique in the way that we set it up. So we're gonna set it up to where this is a unique ID because by default Godot can reuse a device IDs. Like there's a gamepad 0 and a keypad 0, and on their own that doesn't really give you much. Like how is device 0 supposed to be a gamepad or a controller? And you can't really tell. So that's what this is gonna give. It's gonna give specific. So the keyboard will not share an ID with the gamepad. So then let's continue. Then we have our device, and then we're gonna have a string. What is a strong box? I don't know. Private string, and that's gonna be our prefix. And I'll explain that a little bit more later. Basically, that's gonna be for our input map when we start copying strings over. This approach is similar. Well, I guess it's not similar to the approach where you create all the other input actions, but it does use the same concept because that is, I guess, how Godot works. You're just doing it through code instead of having to do it every time. But I would say it's really worth it to go through this trouble to get it to do it automatically. I mean, you don't even have to come and look at code after you do this. You put a new action, and you'll automatically get it copied over. And I will try to show it at the end, maybe with like a jump or something, to see just like really showcase how good this is. But yeah, let's keep going. So we're gonna have that, and in our constructor, we are going to have a public controls. And what are we gonna take in? Just the device. I call it D for now. DV sounds cool. Anyway, and then we are going to say, um, what's up with this? Oh, okay. Well, I'm doing that right now. Anyway, so our device is going to equal DV. What? No, no, thank you. Oh, why did I have it? I guess. And then our prefix is gonna equal our device. I guess I don't really. That's a little extra because I think about it, we don't really need the prefix. Actually, for now, I'm just gonna take that out. It's just let it hold our device. About that, my headset just well, there's no audio playing, so it was just like, oh, you're not doing anything. Then it just left. So anyway, um, like I said, the way this works is that it copies over the existing input map and then creates a copy for each player. So I'm gonna start off by creating a default copy of everything. So let's add that function private what private void create map copy, and this is gonna be the default copy. Um, I'm gonna rename it default copy because we are gonna use this again with the player's device, and then we're gonna need it's not gonna be the same thing. Anyway, so I'm gonna create a list up here, private list string name, and it's gonna be called def actions. So our default actions. I'm just gonna I'm gonna instantiate it already up here. So this is gonna hold all our default actions. So when we create a new copy to pass to a player, it's going to just reference these that we want to copy. So we're gonna go to create def copy, and we're gonna start off by making a for each loop. So for each string name in oops, I'm gonna have our variable to s in def action. We not def action. Sorry about that. Input map that get actions. We're going to add those to their def action. Dot add s, not capital S, lowercase s. There we go. So each we're gonna go through all the input actions, which is what this is gonna do, and we're just gonna add them all to s. Now that works. What I did in mine is I added a little prefix to the ones I want copied. So I'm gonna do that right now and show how that works. And the reason for that is that um, you might not want to copy all of these, like every single UI action, which I didn't. I'm not gonna copy all of these. You could if you want. For this one, I'm not going to, so I am gonna add a prefix to all these. I used the little tilde. You don't need to, you can put whatever you want. Because it does make the names a little bit weird, but the good thing is you don't have to deal with them, so it's just in code. So it's like when you're looking at the code, it's a little odd, but at the same time, you don't need to mess with it, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's get back here. So then, instead of just adding everything, let's give it an if string. Oh, this is weird. Yeah, the check is a little weird. You have to cast it to a string first that we can check it character by character, which I don't like all that much, but it is what it is. I'm pretty sure there's an easier way to do this. String s and then 0 equals equals and then tilde. We're gonna do that. Alright, so we created a copy of every action that we want to be copied, which for now is just move forward, back, left, and right to our def action, our default actions. Alright, so nice. And we're gonna need to do that when it starts. So I'm just gonna create def copy. Boom. And that's simple. Now let's create something. Let's make a function to create device actions. And then we're going to take in the device. Alright, so this is probably going to be the longest thing in the video, which, I mean, nothing else has really been that long, so can't be too long, but yeah, it is going to be kind of long. So, our first thing to do, we're creating the device actions. We need to get all of the default actions and add them back in with the prefix. That way, they're now specific to our device. So, we're going to go through the default actions. Actually, I'm going to save these as strings if I can. Will that give me an error? No, it won't. Thank you. So that way I don't have to go through this weird thing. And I don't have to. Oh no, I just have to cast it, but that's fine. Anyway, for each string s in the default actions, def action. What? Why did I name it def action instead of def actions? I'm gonna rename that. Thank you. Okay. For each string in default actions, we are going to then add that back into the input map. So we're going to go input map. What am I doing? Map add action. And what this is going to be, it's going to be the device plus s. And that's simple. So, I mean, that's just for each string in there, we're going to add the action. So then, I don't think there's a way to like check that at runtime other than actually just printing them all out, which I might do. So let me do that just to just for debugging that and show that this actually works. And then we're gonna have our default actions, and then at the end of this, we're gonna print. We're just gonna go back here again and print every action in the input map. Yeah. So I'm just gonna print everything here just to make sure this is working. So here we go. We're gonna have Godot. No, it's not Godot. It's debug dot print, and we're going to print s. And then on ready, we're going to create actions for device 0. That's a no. I'm a little clumsy for this. There we go. So we should see it, fill up with the actions we already had. Actually, it's going to be a lot of actions now I think about it. Because it's going to have all the UI actions and everything else. But we'll see it. Okay. Enter. I didn't change any of the player code, so this should be fine. Although we aren't moving. Oh, we aren't moving because I changed the names of the actions. Yes. We'll fix that in a little bit. That's part of the process. You're going to have to break some stuff to make new things. Anyway, here we go. Here's all the input actions that are in the input map that's printed out. So you see all our UI things. Actually, a UI prefix or like a prefix like this would probably be pretty useful. More useful than the tilde, but the tilde is also easier because you just check the first character. Anyway, so we have our move forward, move left, move right, start, backward, whatever. Um, these are the ones that we made by default. And then we went in and I added these, which are the ones that we're going to be using for each device. So there we go. Now we have those actions in the map, but there's no events bound to them. So that basically means there's no controllers that are gonna activate them. You know, you press a button, you move the joypad or whatever. Nothing's gonna activate it because we don't have anything on it. So we're gonna have to change that, and we're gonna go into when we create our device actions for each string in the action, we're gonna add it to the. I mean, for each string in our default actions, which is corresponds to one action that we need for the player, we're gonna add it into the input map with the device. Now, we're also gonna need the events that were associated with that action. So the buttons that were associated with that action we are going to need. So we get that by using input map. Oh no, sorry about that. It is not input map. It's under input event. So we create a new we're going to create an input event, new input, and this is going to equal, we're going to set it to the actions. Actually, we're going to need another loop here because each action can have multiple events. So each input event in. So what this is going to be input map dot get act no get action get events. That's a weird name. I know that like freaked me out the first time I tried using it because I can never find it. But this is going to get all the events for the action that we send it. So we're going to send it S because that's the action, like default action that we're looking at. That one should already have the events. It's going to have everything that we need. So then we're there, and then we're going to create a copy of the event and send it to our new action with the specific device. And the reason we do that is because we need to specify the device for this new event. And if you copy the old event, you're just going to be using it twice. And that's going to have multiple players controlling each other, which is not what we want. So for in here, we are then going to have our input event, new event, is going to equal our input event. I should have named that better. That duplicate and true. So what I just did, create a copy of this object, and we are going to use that copy on the new event. Alright, why is this giving me errors? Oh, I have to cast this, I forgot about that. Put if, there we go, casted, there we go. And then from here, new event dot device is going to equal the device we passed in. There you go. I'm not gonna go through that with this again because that's kind of a mess. But yeah. So that's basically that's basically the simple part. Actually, there is something I forgot. We can have events for keyboards and events for joypads, joy controllers. And what I did here will copy them all over whether or not it's a controller. I'm just saying controller. Or a keyboard. We do not want that. So we are going to do a check here. Let me just set this up so I can paste the code back. There we go. So we're going to check. And this one's pretty long. I didn't really like the way I set it up on the last one, but it worked. So I'm going to use right here. So we're going to say if, and also I forgot to add, the index for the keyboard and mouse player is going to be -1. Not index, the device. Now, internally in Godot, it's going to read as 0, but whenever we pass -1 to our own functions, we are going to know that's the keyboard and mouse. So we are going to start with if if our device is less than 0, okay, hold on. Actually, I'm just gonna copy this over from the old code because that was a mess to come up with to begin with. Okay, I'm back. I copied it. Should be here. I'm gonna go through and explain it if I even remember what it does. Okay, whoa. Yeah, no, that's not nice. So the first condition, if our device is less than 0 and we don't have a joypad event, so if it is the keyboard and mouse and there's no and the event isn't from a controller, we're gonna copy it. And then the second condition, if the device is a controller and we do have a controller as for the event, then copy it. If it's not either of these two, meaning if there is a keyboard but it's a controller, this will give us false, and so it's yeah, so will this one. So it's not gonna work. That's gonna filter out. Make sure we have only keyboard events for the keyboard player and controller events for the controller player. All right. So we copied the map. Now we need to access it in the player. How do we do that? Well, I already know, so I'm gonna tell you. In here, I'm gonna create a function called public string get action. And then it's going to take in a string action and it's going to return. That's not what I meant to do. Our device plus action. There we go. It's that simple, and I will explain that a little bit more. I'm not gonna. Okay, whatever. So basically, our controls. These are going to be passed on to each player object, each instance of the player, and they're going to have a unique device. So inside the player, we can access this function to get our specific actions. So in the player thing, we only need to specify the action that we put in the input map, and this will automatically add the prefix to get the specific action for the device that's bound here. So let's do that. And I'm going to create a function uh, private void. Mm, how do I want to do this? Because we're going to need to create instances of this, and I want it to keep it here. So let me do it here. Let's give a public controls, not control, get device controls, or create device controls. Maybe not did the, make sure this is more specific, controls. And we're going to take an int the device. What did I just do? And so we're going to start off by creating the device actions of the device. And then we're going to create a controls object with this device. So we're going to create return new controls device. There we go. So we're going to access this in the player manager. So every time we create a player, we can access this, say, hey, we need new controls for this player. Can you give us some? All right, sure. It's going to go to here. That's going to set up our input map for us. And then it's going to do this, which is then going to return our object here with that'll help us access the actions. So let's go to the player manager and set that up. And actually, before I go any further than that, hold on. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Actually, less than a second for you. Um, before I go any further than that, in the player, we are going to need a controls set these public set. What am I doing? Controls, controls, C, controls equals C. There we go. So in our player, we can say, hey, these are your controls. Make sure you're using these, and that's going to be set from the player manager. So here we go. Um, we need a reference to the input manager, which can be usually be done easily if you just get the parent. I don't remember how to do that, and I don't feel like checking, so I'm just gonna make a reference to it in the thing. Private manager, or you could make the a singleton, which is probably better. Make this a singleton, access it from other places. You know, if you know how that works, do that instead. But for this, I'm just gonna make it simple, or just continue with what I was already using. Anyway, input manager, input manager. Man, I'm just on a roll with these horrible names today. So then, in here, what are we gonna do? So now we know when we add the player, we're gonna have to give it some controls. So from here, we're gonna set the position, and then we're gonna have to give it new controls. So we're gonna go player. No, it's P dot set controls. And we're gonna give it input manager. We're gonna get them from the input manager. Input manager dot get controls. Did I not? What is it called? Create device controls. Okay. Create device controls. And we are at a roadblock. We don't have the device number. So, device. Device. Now, when you're actually in a multiplayer context, you're going to also want a player index. But since I'm focusing on input right now, this is going to be this is going to be where it stops. Anyway, so we have our set controls, and then we go to our input manager, use the function we just created to give us a controls object, and it's going to create that based off of the device. Now, where do we get this device from? We add the player. Well, that's why I had this unhandled input here to begin with. That was going to be the part where we do get our devices from. So we are going to go into here. So right off the bat, we don't get enough information from this to be sending the device. Uh, so we have that event is action pressed, start. We still don't really know, like, is it a keyboard player, a controller player? What's the index of the player? Yeah, what's the device index of the player? We don't know. So let's do some checks. So it's going to be a little spaghetti, but not too bad. So let's just say if at event that is my goodness, I'm gonna have to check this again. Okay, I got it. It's not dot is, it is input event joy. Yeah, here we go. So if the event is a joypad button, we already know it's gonna be, you know, a controller. So we're just gonna say, hey, um, add player, and we can send the device as is. So we're gonna do at event.device. There we go. And then if the event is a key press, yes, that one. We're going to add a player with the device of -1, since we said, no, not device, since we said that -1 will be our keyboard player. And if you want, you could change this to stack on top of each other, more keyboards, but for now, that's how I'm going to leave it. Um, yeah. this already set up. So I think the last thing to do. Oh, one thing I forgot to do on when we are creating the copy of. Here we go. When we create the copy of the controls, we need to set each of these to a device that we cannot access. So I'm gonna set it to -2 because these are just like a template. We don't want anything actually triggering them. We need the device on here to be just really low. So I'm gonna say -2, -5. That way we don't actually ever use that. It's just, hey, we have these like template here. Don't actually use it, so the device is like out of it, way out of what we would use. So then for here, I'm gonna make another for each loop for each input event and event. Oh, that's a C sharp event. And, my goodness, everything's taken. Input event in input map dot action get events. I don't like that. There we go. Action get events, and that's gonna be s input event dot device is going to equal -9. Boom. So we're not gonna be able to use those default controls. So they're not gonna start like moving random stuff. Although I don't think since the way this is set up, they're ever gonna be used anyway. I just to make sure it's a little redundant, but we're not gonna accidentally trigger them because nothing's gonna have a device of -9. So yeah, that's this done. Let's fix up the player, which we already made all of this stuff to make it so simple. All we have to do is in our controls, we added the function that get action. So let's say we have move left, right? We want to use move left. We just send it to our controls and it'll automatically give us the one for the device. So we don't even need to do anything crazy. We just go here, get that out of the way, and then it's gonna be controls that get action and our string. And there we go. It's not more to it. All you're gonna have to do is just copy this over, replace our old strings with the function to give us the device specific string. And okay, I messed that up, but that's fine. Move left, move right. Oh, one more thing I forgot. Since we have the default of the tilde, we're gonna have to add the tilde at the beginning. If you want to, now let's move forward. I mean, there are other ways to add the prefix, however you want to process the string. I just did this because this is the simplest. There's not much to it. You just hey, first character is add a tilde. But yeah, if you want to add some like processing on it, that's totally fine. All right, now let's test it with the keyboard. Let's see if anything we made even works. If we don't get like a ton of errors, which I'll be very surprised if this works on the first try. But what do you know? It's not working. That's a problem. Anyway, let's check the errors. No reference. Okay, what is it? Okay, saying something's a null reference, or like I have like what is that? 4 functions in here. So did I spell these correctly? Let me check the input map. Forward, backward, left, and right. They look fine to me. keeps adding us though. That is weird. Event that is actually pressed. Oh, duh! I didn't put this in the if. It's just. All right. Let's try this again. We can't move though. That's a problem. Are these all the same thing? Where is it called from? Hmm. Are the controls being set? Think so. That's weird. Give me a second while I figure this out. Okay, I think I found the issue. We'll see if it just fixes itself. Which is why when I was working on it, I said we should just do this by code. But I messed this up. I forgot to assign the manager. Anyway, let's try this again. Well, no errors so far. Am I recording? Just making sure. I don't know why I wanted to double check that. Anyway, enter. And hey, we can't move. That's weird. Errors? Let's not getting any errors. I don't know why we can't move. Let me check the speed on the player real quick. No, it's at 20. It moves up to like 200. It's still not working. Hmm. One thing I think of is that maybe these aren't correct. Um, Let me move up the player speed, and I did it again. I set this to like 200 so we know it's moving. Uh, um, that's really odd. I'm not getting any errors. Nothing saying that I have. Nothing saying that these aren't found. Nothing saying that this is null. And the thing I think of is that the device wasn't set correctly. So that this device. Oh, it wasn't set correctly. Ah, okay. I forgot to finish this off. The 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 new events here are not being added back to the actions, the device specific actions. So what we basically did is, oh hey, get the actions for the default, get the events for the default action, check make sure it's on the right device, right platform, I guess, and then create a copy of it. And then we just created a copy of it, and we didn't actually add it back to our device specific actions. Let me do that. Put map dot add add action add event. Man, this stuff is weird. Okay, the string, which should be device plus s, and that's the string. And then we're going to add the new event. There. Just missing that one line. Let's try this again. My tutorial is getting kind of long, I guess. I don't even know how long it's been. And we still can't move. Did I save it? Yes, I did. Huh. It's there. Same thing. I'll get back to you when I fix it. Okay, this is silly. I put s, the variable name, in like as a literal string. No, that's not right. See if it works now. And I clicked on Godot. Enter. Hey, we can move now. All right, that's awesome. Oh my gosh, it's super fast and like sliding on ice. All right. Um, problem. We can add another one, but for now, I'll skip over that. Um, I just wanted to get like the input splitting up. So we can move now, but how do we know this works with other controllers? Now, I don't know if you noticed, I'm sure you did, we don't even have controller set up over here. So let's fix that right now. Why are the axes like, oh, so I'm switching. Okay, so left stick up is going to be, I'm just gonna leave that on all, we set it in the code anyway. Move right, no, that's left stick right. Left stick left, no, right, yeah, and then move forward, left stick up, and left stick down. Okay, so we have our gamepad controls, and as you can see, I had made zero copy. I didn't make a copy of this. I didn't add like player one, player two, player three. I didn't even go back into the code to fix it, other than when I was debugging it. So let me get a controller, plug it in. Actually, I'm gonna get two controllers just to really show you that these will set up on their own. Let me plug this one in. If you can hear that, and connect to the one that's wireless. What's in the debugger? Oh, that was when I what's it called? Added the second player for the keyboard. Now, obviously, you can add a check to fix that. For this tutorial, I'm not going to go way into that because that's a little bit more specific. But, you know, that's for now. Let's try it with the controller. So I added a Xbox One wireless controller and 360 wired controller, and we have the keyboard. So I'm going to press start on the wireless controller, and nothing happened. Oh no, I just didn't press it hard enough. You can see we're here, and I can move them around. I'm using the controller right now to move this one, and then oh my gosh, it's way too fast. I'm going to use our 360 controller to add another one. Oh look, there he is, and he moves separately than the other one. So I'm going to move them both at the same time, just a little bit. There we go. And oh, we lost our Xbox One controller. And then let's say the keyboard wants to join in. Oh hey guys, what's going on? And oh, I forgot our wireless already fell off. There's our 360 controller playing with our keyboard player. Let me run that again with all three of them there. And in theory, you could just add as many controllers as you really wanted. I don't think there's a limit, although at some point you're gonna want to add a limit. But like I said, that's a little bit more specific. I'll let you figure that out. Also, if you want more keyboards, just do the same thing like I did, but you're gonna have to add another way to check if it's a keyboard or a controller, and then the device specific index. If that's something you want to see, like I expand upon this, I can make another video on it. But as of right now, this is what I wanted to accomplish in this video. Show you how to make the multiplayer input. And well, there you go. I hope this helps you on your game. If you're making a local multiplayer game and you didn't know where to start with the input, well, here you go. I'd like to hear any feedback in the comments. Also, ask any questions. If you need any help with this, something wasn't very clear, I will be posting this in a repository, a link to it in the description. Also, another link to the in the description will be the original plugin that I kind of referenced for some stuff. Like I said, not all of it. It's a little different, but it's the same concept of copying the input map. I will reference that just in case you want to use that. I would also say it's a good place to start. It's a lot easier than this, but I also think it's a little more powerful to make your own. But that said, thank you for watching. I will see you all